Let's talk about the power sitting right on your dinner plate. It's so much more than just fuel to get us through the day. What we eat is deeply, fundamentally connected to our own health and the health of our entire planet. So let's dive into this, because it's a really big deal.
And look, this isn't just some feel-good idea. This is a direct quote from a massive report by some of the top scientists in the world. They crunched the numbers, they did the research, and they concluded that food is our single most powerful tool for creating a healthy and sustainable future. That's an incredible amount of power right there. But, and this is a huge but, that powerful lever, right now, we're pulling it in the completely wrong direction. The way we produce and eat food on a global scale is actually creating two massive, tangled-up crises, one for us and one for the planet itself.
Let's start with the health side of things. 11 million. That's the number of preventable deaths every single year linked to unhealthy diets. Just think about that for a second. To put it in perspective, a poor diet is now a bigger risk to your health than alcohol, tobacco, and unsafe sex combined. Wow.
Okay, so that's the human cost, which is just staggering. Now let's flip the coin and look at the other side of this crisis, the environmental impact. We're going to dig into why our food system leaves such a massive footprint on our planet.
Get ready for a number that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. According to a UN-backed report, a whopping 83% of all the world's farmland is used for meat and dairy production. Just let that sink in. The vast majority of our agricultural land.
And here's the real kicker. Even though it's using up over 80% of our land, meat and dairy provide just 18% of the calories we all consume. You see the problem here? There's this huge, massive imbalance between the resources we're pouring in and the energy we're getting out. And that is right at the heart of the environmental crisis.
And the impact goes way beyond just land use, not by a long shot. The IPBES Global Assessment Report really lays it all out. Animal agriculture is the #1 reason we're losing natural habitats. It's a huge driver of species extinction, it uses up tons of our precious fresh water, and it pumps out at least 18% of all greenhouse gas emissions. You know, these aren't just little side effects, they are major systemic problems.
So, when you hear all that, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's, okay, I get it, I'll eat local, that's the best thing I can do for the planet, right? It just feels right, doesn't it? But as it turns out, the science tells a much more surprising story.
So let's ask the question directly. When we're talking about shrinking our carbon footprint from food, is focusing on those food miles really the biggest bang for your buck?
To get to the bottom of this, scientists use a tool called a life cycle assessment, or LCA for short. Think of it like a full background check on your food. It doesn't just look at how far it traveled, it adds up the entire environmental impact, from the land, water, and energy used to grow it, all the way through processing, packaging, the whole shebang.
And when they do that, well, the results are pretty eye-opening. This chart breaks it all down. A massive 83% of a food's carbon footprint comes from the production phase. You know, what it is and how it was grown. Transportation, the food miles we worry so much about, that's only about 11%. So the big takeaway is that what you eat is almost always way more important than where it came from.
And this quote, this one really puts it all into perspective. For the average person, if you just swap out red meat and dairy for a plant-based meal just one day a week, you'd cut more greenhouse gases than if you bought 100% of your food from local sources. That's a really powerful finding.
Okay, so we've laid out a pretty serious problem, but the good news is scientists haven't just left this hanging. They've also developed a solution, a detailed, science-backed blueprint for how we can feed 10 billion people in the future in a way that's good for us and for the planet.
And here it is. This is the Planetary Health Plate. Now don't worry, it's not some super strict, impossible diet. Think of it more as a flexible guide, a new way to think about your plate that keeps both people and the planet healthy.
So how do you build this plate? It's actually pretty simple. Half of it, just fruits and vegetables. The other half should be mostly whole grains, plant-based proteins, like beans, lentils, and nuts, and healthy plant oils. Now, things like red meat and added sugar aren't totally off limits, but they're seriously reduced, while poultry and fish are more of a sometimes food.
Now, to get the whole world on board with this by 2050, well, the changes we need are huge. On one hand, we need to more than double the amount of healthy stuff we eat, globally. We're talking fruits, veggies, nuts, and legumes, a huge increase.
And on the other hand, we have to cut our global consumption of red meat and sugar by more than half. And most of that reduction really has to come from wealthier countries where we're eating way, way more than our fair share.
And making this happen is, well, it's a massive undertaking. It's not as simple as everybody just deciding to eat differently. It requires a huge, coordinated effort across the globe. So massive, in fact, that scientists have a name for it: the Great Food Transformation.
This chart really shows you the mountain we have to climb. Just look at North America, on average consuming over 600% more red meat than the healthy limit. That's just wild. Meanwhile, across the world, we're not even close to eating enough vegetables or legumes. The gap is enormous.
And the scientists are really clear on this. There's no magic wand, no single fix. To pull this off, we have to do 3 big things all at once. First, we all have to shift towards these healthier diets. Second, we have to completely change our farming practices to be more sustainable. And third, we have to slash our food waste in half. Not 1, not 2, but all 3 are absolutely essential.
And the message from the scientists couldn't be more urgent. This isn't a maybe we should think about it situation. They state it plainly. The evidence is clear, it's strong, and we need to act now. Waiting will only make things worse, maybe even disastrously so.
So, there you have it. The science shows us the problem, and it gives us a roadmap for the solution. A path that can heal ourselves and the planet at the same time. Which brings it all back to a very simple but very powerful question. What does this path forward mean for what each of us decides to put on our own plate tonight?